For me, the newest trailer for Pokémon Legends Arceus is by far the most exciting yet. In less than 2 weeks, we're going to be getting the Pokémon experience we've always wanted since the franchise started back in the 90s. The newest 13-minute gameplay trailer showed us way more than we could have ever asked for, so let's not waste time getting to all the hidden details that you missed in it. For the uninitiated, I'm johtojonny, and I'm a gaming analyst here on YouTube who analyzes trailers and games in more detail than anyone else on the platform. That's right, this means you're about to witness hidden details no one else has pointed out yet. Let's get started. True to chronological order, we're going to start towards the beginning of the gameplay trailer, in the scene of us walking through Aspiration Hill, which is located in the greater Obsidian Fieldlands area. In the past, I've pointed out how much farther the draw distance in this game is than previous Pokemon games, and that's still true. But what's even nicer is that the pop-in effects from afar have been smoothed out to be much more gentle than in previous footage. Check out these trees. There's even an NPC in the back that pops in really far away. So much better than Sword and Shield. Pokemon not only walk, run, and turn around all with transitional animations, but they also look around as well. Look at Bidoof scout the area without moving the rest of his body. There is more to this sort of facial detection by the Pokemon that I'll talk about later too. One of the most exciting things in this trailer is the reveal that Pokemon are used to gather resources. I absolutely love this, as it makes me feel like we're really synergizing as true partners in exploration. I was scared that we only had some sort of headbutt mechanic, since all we've seen before were Pokemon hitting berries out of trees. I wonder what all the different ways we can use our Pokemon to scavenge will be like. Presumably, since we know we can take up to 6 Pokemon out at once, maybe we can throw all 6 of our Pokemon out to scavenge different materials if there are enough resources close enough in the vicinity. I'm already picturing it. Having all our Pokemon out at once gathering material? I can't wait to test this theory out. After gathering the resources, Rowlet turns to look at the player. I guess they're waiting on further interaction. At this point, I assume our Pokemon stay stationary when we take them out, and we have a few options to interact with them. Those being talking to them, sitting with them, or recalling them to their ball. Unfortunately, there's still been no indication of a follow mechanic, but honestly, I think I'm fine with that, especially after the crapshoot that was Sword and Shield. Speaking of being fine, at first, I thought when Rowlet was turning around that there was no turning animation for it. I wondered why, since we know we have turning animations in the game, but I was relieved that it might actually have just been the angle in this clip, because shortly after, we see Rowlet do the same thing from a different perspective, and it looks like he does a little steppy step as he turns. Whew! A fun sound effect plays when we complete a material gathering, as well as another one followed right after for the material reaching your inventory. Not sure why they needed 2 here.
Breaking rocks? Picking up plants growing in the wild grass? Defeating or catching Pokemon?
Once again, here you can see Bidoof very clearly looking around, but shortly after, an even more interesting animation plays from one of them. Bidoof looks at us curiously by tilting his head. It seems Pokemon of a similar temperament will probably do something similar, and it makes me wonder just how many more unique animations different Pokemon have for different temperaments. Starly doesn't always fly away when alert, so we could run around with them sometimes. Fun! I like the bonk sound effect that plays when a Pokemon catch in the Overworld fails.
Attack you should they spot you
In this case, the Overworld catch failed because Shinx was already alert of us. However, there is more to this that I'll explain later. I also find the goofy music that plays when an aggressive Pokemon spots you to be very endearing.
Aggressive Pokemon that will attack you should they spot you in the wild. If an aggressive Pokemon spots you, or if you fail to catch it on your first sneak attempt, the Pokemon will enter an alert state.
It's reminiscent of Breath of the Wild's battle music, but much better in my opinion. It's a little quirkier and just has more melody to it. Look at how far the camera zoomed out when Shinx attacks us. This is but one example of how much better the camera is than it was in Sword and Shield. Here's another camera improvement shown to us right after. We can control the camera during battle. This is our first time having that confirmed to us through footage. Let's make some awesome angles for these battles, guys. Now, slow-mo effects seem to always happen when Pokemon use strong style or agile style. I love that. He spin, he attack. In between moves against wild Pokemon, we're told through text boxes information on the wild Pokemon instead of our own. That's a really neat change, and I wonder if this will have any effect on gameplay at all. Maybe wild Pokemon can run away, and this would be a way to start alerting us? Or maybe there are even more uses for these text boxes that I can't possibly infer at the moment. We'll have to see in 2 weeks. Again, look at how often Pokemon's idle animations play in this game. So much better. They feel so much more alive because of this. We can catch Pokemon in battle too, traditional style. Not much else to say about this other than I like the animations. A cute jingle plays when Pokemon are caught successfully in battle. Different Pokemon react differently to different berries. In this case, Psyduck was happy and wanted to eat the berry. It also seems that there are some changes to how teaching moves works. After catching Psyduck, you can see that Starly learned a new move. I guess we have to access a menu somewhere to find out what it is? This also begs the question, once Starly learns more than 4 moves, what then? Perhaps we have to manually switch it in our menus? I can't imagine we get interrupted every time a Pokemon learns a new move after having learned 4 to try to, select it. Can we actually choose any 4 moves out of our entire move pool at any point in time? If so, that would be a truly modernized change. Nexomon actually has a feature like this, so it's possible Pokemon adopted it this time around. On a different note, we can charge forward faster on Weirdeer. I'll admit, I didn't expect this. It seems to only come in bursts, but looks fun nonetheless. Speaking of things I didn't expect though, wow! That transition is smooth! We can change rideable Pokemon in a flash, just by using the D-pad to select them and pressing the plus button to activate. Get ready to be creative, both in your traversal and your survival, everyone. We've heard this song many times, but this is most likely Jubilife Village's theme, since they abruptly switched to it here. That might also mean this is a theme for Obsidian Fieldlands since it was used throughout all that footage. We might not be able to ride Pokemon in Jubilife Village. Unless this is just really early in the game, they're nowhere to be seen on the UI. It seems like we can throw our Pokemon out though, as we still have the X button showing to switch in the items HUD. Though, that might be grayed out and unusable here anyway. I hope they can be thrown out. This shot of our character walking across the bridge seems innocent enough, until you realize that there's an investigation option near the edge of it. Something is interactable here, and it's most likely either about the bridge, or perhaps there's a sign hidden off camera here that shows what town areas are in what direction. Unfortunately, we cannot leave Jubilife Village seamlessly. You have to select a region to visit at the gate. While I'd have preferred a completely open world experience, I'm still very happy with sandboxes. It's just ever so slightly disappointing. Oh well. Holy cow, Professor Laventon is messy. But look at how cute our lodge is. Wait, why do we have sandals hanging from the ceiling next to our food? I like that our character walks barefoot through the lodge. It's a cute detail and a nice reprieve from their ugly shoes, which I deem to be the only bad part of their usual outfit. We can investigate these scrolls to our right. I wonder what they say. Wow, that's a cute bedroom, and paper lantern. I doubt we can, but I'd love to be able to decorate our lodge. The trading post requires merit points to trade items and Pokemon. I wonder how that'll work. It sounds kind of worrisome. Behind the trading post, there's an NPC in the back looking at something on display. I wonder what this could be. If you have any ideas, just let me know down in the comments. Big and small Pokemon are quests. We can visually see their size differences, as I've explained many times, so this is a great mission type. Experience candies are confirmed here. I liked these in Sword and Shield, but probably won't use them in Legends to keep the survivalist stakes higher. Missions advance the main story, while requests are side gigs involving NPCs. We can place markers of our choice on the map, which is accessed via the Arc Phone. The narrator also mentions the Arc Phone has a function to track our movements. He may be referring to something like what Breath of the Wild did in one of its early updates, where it shows us our last 10,000 steps, or he could just mean it's our location cursor. It's most likely just the latter. As soon as we crouch walk into the grass, a vignette appears on the edges of the screen. I've pointed this out before, but the transition is very visible here. Here's another show of improvement for the camera. Here we see it go pretty far, and it gives us what's almost a bird's eye view. There's also an option that says change focus. I wonder if this refers to changing targets that we're locked onto, or if this is some sort of camera toggle. I'm hoping for the latter. We get a critical capture animation and slow-mo effect when we throw a successful ball at Pokemon stealthily. I want to take the time to console everyone that no, catching any Pokemon stealthily will not always work. I can almost guarantee that. This most likely is far more effective on smaller, weaker Pokemon. It probably doesn't work at all on alphas, and stronger Pokemon in general probably have a very low success rate, if there's even one at all. We might have better chances by late game when we have better balls and materials, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll talk a bit more about the stealth mechanic shortly. It's pretty great. There's a cool xylophone jingle when our leftmost HUD pops up after a successful catch. NPCs have pretty funny dialogue. Good. Maybe this is further hinting towards a good story. Alright, back to the stealth mechanic. Initiating Pokemon battles stealthily nets you a big advantage. You get an extra turn at the start of the battle. This will be especially helpful for strong Pokemon, like I mentioned earlier. If you see a Pokemon you really want, or an alpha, I recommend going straight for this option. Alright, time to explain the battle system. Again. The player Pokemon and the opposing Pokemon typically go back and forth one turn after the other. However, the Pokemon's innate speed may naturally affect how many turns that Pokemon gets at a time. For instance, a super fast Espeon may have 2 or 3 turns, even without using a move style against a Snorlax who is super slow. That would mean Snorlax only gets 1 turn every 2 to 3 turns. However, moves like Quick Attack can net you another turn. So if Espeon uses Quick Attack against Snorlax, she may even get 3 or 4 moves against Snorlax before he gets 1. Then, on top of that, Espeon can use Agile Style on Quick Attack each turn to net 1 extra turn each move, theoretically boosting her turns to as high as 4 to 6 turns before Snorlax can move once. Espeon can even use her final turn to use a strong style version of the move and do even more damage before Snorlax gets a chance to retaliate. So you're probably thinking, this goes beyond being a strategy to just being the optimal way to play, right? Surely that's overpowered. Well, no. Actually, not only can wild Pokemon do the same thing to you if the roles are reversed, but using strong and agile style consumes more PP than usual, with agile style confirmed to use 2 PP every time it's used. This means that while, theoretically, the circumstance I mentioned earlier could happen, it likely won't because you won't have the power points to do so. It's also not recommended to go all in like this unless you're fighting an alpha, since during exploration, you won't have any way to heal up unless you make it back to a base camp. Conversely, there may even be a limit to how many turns a Pokemon can have before another. However, that's neither confirmed nor deconfirmed at the moment. We'll just have to wait and see. You caught Walrein unawares. Doesn't exactly make sense. That's quite the typo, guys. Anyways, if you guys have seen the explanation the narrator gives on the strategy here against Walrein, you know just how deep the combat system goes. I really do love it. Also, the player has a great animation where he returns our fainted Pokemon to our Pokeball. I can't wait to literally be playing anime-style matches. Dodging is done with the Y button. Normally, I'd say I wish it was the right trigger, like in Bayonetta, but I guess it's fair since I think we're using that trigger to aim balls and items. Cleavor used double hit and took a hard-hitting stance. Does that mean a turn is consumed to power up a very strong hit next time? Hard to say since the HUD is missing. Maybe someone in the comments can explain that for me because I am confusion. I also want to point out, I love how they came always up closest to our Pokemon doing an animation when we use a style move. It just adds to making them feel alive and keeping the game engaging, at least in my opinion. Now here's a biggie, Stealth Rock's function has been changed. It now does damage when used, and instead of splintering the ground to damage Pokemon that are switched out, it seems to splinter the Pokemon itself to damage them turn by turn afterwards. At least I think so. Psyduck doesn't take damage this turn, and defeats the noble Pokemon before we get a chance to find out what happens in the next turn. If you guys have any ideas about this too, please, once again, let me know in the comments. Wow. Guys, I'm just gonna say it. Pokemon Legends Arceus will almost definitely be my favorite game of all time. I'm seriously so excited for it at the end of the month. I can't contain myself. I'm staying up at night thinking about it, and I wake up happy that I'm one day closer to its release. Let's all have as much fun as possible, sharing our experiences with one another once the game releases. We have less than 2 weeks left now, so feel free to take that time to binge all of my analysis videos beforehand. I look forward to everyone sticking around the channel. Until the next video, I have been JotoJohnny. Peace out, everyone.